The VeloBuild R-218 has promised a lot. An aero frame shape with hidden cable, very impressive look, affordable pricing, and a 5 out of 5 stars rating on their website. However, is it too good to be true? Is it a superbike on the budget? For this, I have completed the build and have ridden for some time, including some short 30 minutes commute, weekend cup rides, and a metric centrics. So I'll give you my opinion about this frame and will answer, is it a superbike on a budget or a piece of garbage? Let's start with the frame quality. Ultimately, everything that you ride is how to get about this frame. It's not just how fast you can ride, but also the aspect of taking you home safely. Hambini, GC Performance, Diabetic Rider, and a couple of other content creators has done their build, and they have many of reviews in there. My findings are similar. So let's look at the strength and positive about this, then we'll go into some negative. For the strength and positive, I summarize it into 3 areas. The first is the material strength, which I found the frame has quite a thick layer of carbon. It is stiff and rigid, and I guess this is compensating the lower grade of carbon and resin it uses as well. It is quite strong, and it should be good enough to withhold any ride stress, such as your acceleration, your deceleration, even going through some pothole. So far, particularly with a long ride, I have not noticed any issue of the strength, the material strength itself. The second positive about this bike or this frame is about the compatibility and options. Now, which the cycling world seems to be fading out rim brakes. This VeloBuild still offer both rim and disc as an option, which is a big plus. In my build, I run a disc brake version with the Sensei Empire 12-speed group set, a full mechanical system which matched the price point of this frame. It is also compatible with Shimano Di2 or SRAM ETAP wireless group set as well. So if you want to use them, that is the option available. I don't know enough about Campy EPS to comment on the compatibility. If you know about it, please drop me a comment in this video below. The third is aesthetic, which is what is attractive to me to explore this frame to start with. I thought to myself, if the bike didn't ride well, I could still hang it on the wall as a piece of decoration. I'm glad I didn't need to do that. I must admit that the custom paint also take the aesthetic to the next level. With that, I must say the credit of the bike design should all go to Pinarello, because I don't believe VeloBuild has come up with this design. People say this is a copy of the Dogma F. From what I can tell, they are 99% look alike. Okay, let me rant about some negative about this frame. And face it, this is not the top quality frame. There are many issues. However, in my opinion, this can be the easy fix and even very cost effective during the manufacturing stage. However, VeloBuild doesn't seem to address this, and it's been reported again and again and again. I must say, I'm lucky with this build because I do not experience much of the other issue like praying over spray and BB alignment issue. However, there are a few issues that I found they are pretty annoying. So let's start with the bottom bracket. I actually made the whole video out of it as well. I simply cannot fit a BSA bottom bracket without extensively worked on the frame itself. And it shouldn't have to be that. BSA is a very standard that been used by many manufacturers. So anyone who have any manufacturing experience in the frame would have checked this at least, right? So let's move on from that. Then it's come to the handlebar routing. Now, I would say it's not 100% their fault because your fully integrated handlebar, you don't expect there is a lot of space inside the handlebar itself because the handlebar need to have enough thickness on the carbon to hold sort of all the stress that you put on the handlebar when you're riding on it. And this bike is definitely the original design from Dogma, is from Pinarello for Dogma. Is more on an electric group set than a mechanical. If you think about the price point they actually set up on a Dogma F, most of the buyer would buy a Dogma F would have chosen an electric group set instead of mechanical. However, this is not a Dogma, this is VeloBuild, so I choose to go with the mechanical setup, which again run into a massive sort of cable routing issue on the handlebar. So then we'll move on from the handlebar to frame cable routing. Now, I think this is something that they could not deny responsibility, because there is, when I got the frame, there was nothing there, nothing to help you to route the cable, which is, I found it really annoying, right? It's not unfixable, but with a little bit of TLC, at least you could have put in some cable routing guide internally, particularly with internal framing. It doesn't cost a lot in terms of manufacturing in that process, but it actually makes the whole build process a lot more time consuming in my opinion, right? So then it comes to, let me go back to the handlebar. Not the handlebar itself, but the spaces sit between the handlebar and the frame itself. Now, when I received this frame, I have received two spacers, one 10 millimeters and one 5 millimeters. So all in all, when you buy this frame, it gives you 15 millimeters options on this, which is pretty limiting, I would say. And unfortunately, the spacer is not a standard spacer. You can't just put a standard spacer rain on it and then you're good. You just simply cannot find it. You could go to things like AliExpress, and I end up went back to VeloBuild to say, hey, that is not good enough. They sent me an extra set. I also did an extra purchase on AliExpress to get the Dogma, the Pinarello system, the handlebar system, the spacer for Pinarello to make it work for me. Now, again, when you buy a frame, how hard it is, the plastic doesn't cost them a lot. Now, lastly, since I've got these two spacers, one set from VeloBuild, another set from AliExpress, I can really compare the quality of the plastic. The plastic quality on the VeloBuild is just outright cheap plastic, right? And it just, the edges hasn't been sort of smooth out. Is I have to etch the plastic edges to that extent. That's crazy. And just the space, it just tightly, it just not, sometimes doesn't fit together as well. So the quality of those parts and components, the accessory are quite terrible. If you're interested to know more, check out the build documentary that I've done and click on the card on the top right hand side corner. Back to the quality. None of these issues are difficult to fix. VeloBuild just didn't pay enough attention to the details and quality you might find in any other manufacturer or reputable manufacturer. To me, this is a big disappointment in the product. I'll be happy to pay a higher price for a better product should these problem, and again they're tiny problem, should they be addressed. So on the frame quality, I give it a 5 out of 10 in total. Now, despite the low score in quality, considering the price that I pay, it's still a very viable option to build a performance bike with a limited budget. So let the rubber hit the roads and talk about the ride quality.
In terms of a bike, I want a bike to give me confidence. I'm not looking for the fastest bike in the world, otherwise I would do a TT bike. But for road bike, it needs to accelerate and hold the speed well. It doesn't have to be the faster one. However, it actually needs to be inspiring confidence. So when you're cornering or sprinting, you would know that it is predictable. It will go whenever you want to go. And then lastly, it should be comfortable enough for you to do a century or even more without feeling the bones are falling off. So these are the bike quality that I'm looking for. And this VeloBuild 218 has hit field marks really good. So start with the aerodynamics, speed, holding speed and accelerate. It is a heavier frame than other frames that I have got compared to like even a Giant Define. I feel this frame accelerate just a little bit slower. It's not slow, but I expect this to be better. Maybe because of the carbon quality or carbon makeup, it's not very fast to accelerate. But once you accelerate, get up to speed. So for example, when you get up to 20k to 30k, beyond that, it holds the speed really well. I think that's the advantage of the shape. In terms of stability, you want to have your bike really inspire your confidence, especially when you're cornering or when you are dodging potholes. The problem that I found, not so much of a problem, maybe it's just I need to get used to it, is the responsiveness of the frame. It is a bit too responsive to my liking. Maybe this is just I need to get used to the bike. But in the last 2 weeks when I tested this bike, I have 2 times, either I sort of start sprinting or get it out of corner, try to accelerate. I almost lose control when I put my power down to the pedal. And this is something that I need to be more careful. Or maybe the geometry on the handlebar stem is a bit too short. Maybe getting a longer stem would help. So this is a little bit of a question mark I still need to get used to. You definitely want your bike to give you comfortable ride. Particularly you are a rider like to do long ride, century or more. Now, this VeloBuild is not one of the endurance bike. So the vibration is pretty prominent. So the dampening of the fork and seat tube pretty much doesn't exist. So it is could be a pretty harsh ride if you ride a long time. However, there is other things that you can do, such as a wider tire or a saddle. Choosing a more suitable saddle for you could help with the situation. So if this is the right ride for you, go ahead. So overall ride quality, for what it is, I'll give you 7 out of 10.
Let's not go around the bush and give you all the information about the budget. First, let me list all the component costs. Because some vendor, they do not give you any cost about the shipment or taxation until you check out. So that could cause your budget to blow out at the end if you're not careful. I have included all the shipping costs to Australia, and I believe this is somewhat compatible to shipping to US. That should give you a good comparison. All price listed here are in US dollar. So first of all, the frame, the fork, the seat post, and the computer mount from VeloBuild come to $745 USD. And then the group set, which is sensor and Prior Pro 12-speed group set, which come to $508. Then it comes to the wheel. The wheel come from Pro X. It's a C66 dB. I wouldn't read the whole lot for you. That come to a $699 US. And then I have got a carbon saddle. Now I have swapped over the carbon saddle for the Style Italian for this video because I've been doing the Festive 500. This is much more comfortable. But if I switch back to the carbon saddle from AliExpress is only $22.24. Now with the tire is Michelin Power Club competition. 2 of them, they actually ship from Spain. I've somehow found a deal in there. It only cost me $106 including shipping. Right. So with the chip I put in right now, PTU chip for now. Later on, I might swap it to tubeless, but for the tube, it's $20 for 2 tubes, right? And the bar tape is a J wire bar tape Pro, $20, right? And then the cabling kit, I've got the J wire Pro cabling kit and then the Pro shifter kit, all in all $44.90. So with the list of components here, come to the total cost of $2,166.02, all in all. When I actually tally up all these costs, it's actually surprised me how cheap this bike come to. Let's look at what you can gain with the same amount of money with other bikes from some mainstream manufacturer. So I pick up 3 bikes example, which I feel that they are really good comparison. So let's look at the example 1, which I look at the big brand bike which have compatible performance, and I search and I find Canyon Aero CF SL7 disc with Shimano 105 and Reynolds AR55 DB. This bike comes with a price of $3,499 plus delivery. And I know Canyon got deep session wheel and hydraulic brakes. It is a massive deal to someone, but in reality, I can really swap out the Sensor Empire Pro to Tulo and other hydraulic group set, and order a 60mm deep session wheel to achieve a very comparable configuration for another probably $500. Then this will bring the total build cost of the VeloBuild to $2,500 and $2,600. So that is still a price comparison. Now let's move on to example number 2, which what you think about what you can get for the most affordable budget. So the second one comes from Specialized. It's a Specialized Tarmax SL7 with Shimano Tiagra and Axis Sport disc for $2,500. Obviously, you are missing out on the 12-speed cassette, and Tiagra is an overall heavier group set. And the SL6 does not provide a reasonable wheel set in my opinion, and if you're serious about riding, you will eventually upgrade. So you will spend a lot more money down the track if you go with this right now. Now, lastly, let's look at what I feel is traditionally value for money, which is a Giant TCR Advanced Disc 2 Pro Compact for $3,000. So same as Canyon, it comes with the Shimano 105, but unfortunately it still doesn't give you the good wheels. Like Tarmac, you will eventually spend more money to get a decent set of wheels. So traditionally, TCR represent a very good value for money. These comparisons show you a massive gap between what you pay and what performance you can gain from a mainstream build and alternative brands and components. So it is quite a significant difference in here. So for the budget, for what you pay, it is a 9.5 out of 10. It all looks very attractive on paper, and I guess you want to take out your credit card and rush to buy it online. Before you do so, I'm hoping you will consider one thing: the value of your time. The chip costs in the VeloBuild come with some big challenge. They're not tricky, however, it does take time and tools to do it properly. So before you go in to commit to this, ask yourself a few options. Do you know what kind of group set you enjoy riding? Do you go for electric or mechanical? 11 speed or 12 speed? So the big three versus alternative Chinese brand could be a lot of different variants in there. You need to really think through which one, and it is very time consuming to put that together. Once you put it together, you don't want to swap it out day in, day out, right? So the next one is about the geometry, right? So this VeloBuild 218 is a very aggressive frame set. So if this is what you look for, that's fine. But if you want to look for more a lightweight or more endurance type of geometry, you might need to consider that. And then if you buy it wrong, and I'm sorry, there's no way that you could really fix it, right? And then come down to putting the bike together. Do you have the right tools to put it together? Because all the components come together, just components, right? So you still need to use different Allen keys, screwdriver, different cable kits, cable end trimming tool, and the list goes on, right? So after the build, I really wish I had a bike stand that helped me to work on the bike rather than on the floor most of the time, and sometimes I use sort of the bike hanger to help me to actually put things together, right? And I also wish I had the cable routing tool to speed up the cabling process. Buying some of these two might not be cheap if you do not have them handy, so it could be a considerable investment if you're first time doing this. Alright. The last question that you really want to think about is your skills. So have you worked on a bike like this before? It could be very time consuming if you need to YouTube on the go. So think about that, and if there is no other option, can you go into a local bike shop to help you to finish your build or fix any challenge you cannot resolve quickly, right? So getting a good outcome on a custom build like this, it requires you to have a good understanding in your needs, and you know the mechanics of a bike, right? It is a very time consuming and to look at different product reviews, research on forums, and try and error, right? So this is a level of complexity you need to deal with should you commit to it. So if you value your time, please give it a pass. For that reason, for the complexity, I need to take 1.5 points off the total score from this build. Now it's time to tally all the score together. For the frame set is 5 out of 10, for the ride quality is 7 out of 10, and for the budget is 9.5 out of 10. And lastly, if we take out the 1.5 point about the complexity, it will leave 20 points out of 30 positive points, which is a passing score for me. So let's answer the question that I initially posed. Is it a superbike on a budget? And if I have to answer honestly, the answer will be a direct no. This is not a superbike, not even close. However, I believe you can use this frame to build a decent quality bike that gives you a lot of joy and at the same time doesn't break your bank account. Speaking of bank account, please do subscribe. You subscribing will help me to get some budget for upcoming video. Alright, back to the point. The point I try to make about this is this frame is okay frame, and there is much better frames on the market. I can easily even name a few. However, a lot of them are actually off the next price point, right? So ultimately, you get what you pay for, and sometimes if it's too cheap, think twice before you buy. Now let's look at the final product. The final product does exceed my expectation and even helped me to break my PB on my regular commute route. This has been a fun project for me in the last few months. It achieved my goal for setting up a second bike for commute on a budget, and I get much more of it. I love the support from the community. Your comment, your knowledge sharing are amazing. I hope you enjoy your build as well and keep sharing your knowledge. Thank you, and see you next time.